So we went on to the calculation of not this one, yeah, calculation of stopping distance, okay, which was the distance required by a driver after looking at an object to completely stop. Okay, and we did an example last time as well for the stopping distance. Now let us come towards the concept of safe stopping sight distance. So you can see we are using the term stopping distance again, but we have added the word sight here. Sight means visibility. Okay, so safe stopping sight distance is the visible distance to the visible distance to the driver on the road. Okay, the available visibility of the driver on the road, and it is calculated using the equation of total stopping distance. It is calculated using the equation of total stopping distance. Okay, so safe stopping distance is the visible distance to the driver on the road, and it is calculated using the equation of total stopping distance. Okay, using the design speed. So for example, you are designing a rural freeway at a design speed of 70 miles per hour, and there's a level section of the freeway. Level terrain meaning no gradient. Level terrain meaning no gradient. So what should be the safe stopping distance? What should be the safe stopping distance on this freeway? Okay. So we will use the equation of total stopping distance, which they are saying here as well. And since we are talking about stopping, so SF will be 0. The final speed will be 0. And they are saying use the AASHTO recommended reaction time and 2.5 seconds, which is the reaction time for normal stopping. If you are stopping in normal conditions, this is your reaction time, 2.5 seconds. So they are saying use this for calculation of the safe stopping distance. So this is the equation. Okay, don't look at this question. Okay, this is not the question we are solving. We already solved that. I'm just trying to use the equation here. Okay, so in this equation, okay, what are the things which are given? They have given me the speed. Speed is 70, right? Let me write down the factors for you. SI is 70 miles per hour. Time 2.5 seconds. SF, they said take it 0. Okay, gradient not given. Okay, and F will be taken as 0.348, which was A upon G. If you remember, we calculated the value last time using the AASHTO recommended deceleration rate. Okay, so with these values, give me the value of stopping distance here. Safe stopping distance. As I said, just use this equation. G will be 0. Already given you all the other factors. So how much would be the D value here? Oh, let me make this. Yeah.
726.59.
Yes, 726.59. Very accurate. Very good. Thank you. So on this freeway, we must provide a distance of 726.6 feet to make it safe. Okay. So if the visibility is less than that, then we will tell the driver it is not safe for you to go at 70 miles per hour, which is very often the case when you have fog conditions. The countries where they have fog very often, you will see a signboard on the road where it says that in fog, use this speed. Okay, so which is very low than the actual speed limit on the road. Okay, so this is the reason, because at high speed, that much visibility will not be. The visibility required for high speed is not available on the road. Okay. Okay, now let us do another example. We have a driver who has to slow down from 60 to 40 miles per hour to negotiate a severe curve. So sometimes you will be on a highway, you're designing a highway, and at a location you need to give a curve, and that curve, for that curve you don't have enough space to provide a large radius. To provide a smaller radius, in that case you need to reduce the speed as well. So they had to reduce the speed from 60 to 40 miles per hour for this curve. Now since you are reducing the speed, you need to warn the driver that you are reducing the speed. For warning the driver, we have to put a sign there. Okay, and that sign, according to the size of the sign, they have estimated that the sign will be visible to the driver from 120 feet. So wherever the sign is placed on the road, when the driver is 120 feet from the sign, he can see the sign. Okay, so this is the visibility of the sign. Okay, visibility of the sign. We want to know how far from the curve the sign should be placed. So the sign should be before the curve, but how much before the curve? This is what we want to know. Okay, and we will use the deceleration and reaction times which are recommended by AASHTO. Okay, now we will use the same equation which is for stopping distance, but in this equation we will not put SF as 0 because there's a final speed here. Okay, now why we are using this equation, stopping distance equation, why not we use the braking distance equation? Because there is looking at the traffic sign involved. So when he looks at the traffic sign, he will take some time to get the information, decide and initiate his action. Okay, if they said, okay, how much distance he needs to go from 60 to 40, then you may use only braking distance, but they are saying he will look at the sign first and then he will do all these things. So when something is taken from the time driver looks at the object, then the reaction distance component must be involved. Okay, so this is why we have to use the total stopping distance, not just the braking distance. Okay, because the looking and the vision component is involved. Okay, we earlier did an example, I think on Thursday, where we only used the braking distance equation, but in that question there was no mention of that the driver will look at an object and he will think and so on. Okay, so this is why when the driver looks at an object and you are required to calculate the distance or anything from that point, then you need to incorporate the decision time as well. Okay, so that's why we are using a total stopping distance. Now let me try to make it clearer using a sketch here. So this is your highway. On this highway there's a curve. Okay, and this is a sharp curve according to them, and there's a sign here. I want to put a sign here, and the sign may say, okay, 40 miles per hour speed. Okay, now driver, when he sees the sign, he is at this point, and this point is 120 feet away from the sign. Okay, this is 120, which is given here in the question, 120 feet. The distance between the driver and the sign when he can see the sign. Okay, now how much should be the distance between the sign and the curve? This we want to know. Okay, now at this point his speed is 60. Right, when he looks at the sign first, his speed is 60, which is the initial speed. From this point till he gets to the curve, we want his speed to become 40. Right, from this point to the curve, we want his speed to go from 60 to 40, and between these 2 points, how much distance will there be? This distance will be d. Okay, so first of all we'll calculate d, which is the distance required for him to go from 60 to 40. Okay, so SI will be 60, t is 2.5 seconds, which is normal reaction time recommended by AASHTO. 0.348 is a skid resistance. Gradient is not given, so I will take it as 0. Okay, initial speed 60 and final is 40. Okay, and this is same value. So when you calculate d, it comes out to be 411 feet. So in order to go from 60 to 40, he needs 411 feet. Okay, now from 411 feet, his distance from the sign is 120 feet. Out of the total 411 feet, the distance between the driver and the sign is 120 feet. So the remaining is the distance between the sign and the curve. The remaining is the distance between the sign and the curve. So the sign should be at least 291 feet before the curve. The sign should be at least 291 feet before the curve. Okay, so that when he looks at the sign, his distance to the curve is the required stopping distance. Okay, so this is how you solve it. Again, these are minimum values. If you can provide more distance to the sign or to the curve, between the sign and the curve, that will be better. Okay, so these are minimum values. Now, if you have any question, you can ask me. Just a reminder, when I'm looking at full screen, I cannot see your messages. If you have question, speak up. Okay, please speak up. Okay, so any questions? So moving on. So in the previous case, we just took the stopping distance, that we must provide visibility equal to stopping distance. This may be true for situations which are in which the driver is encountering something which is normal and routine, like a traffic jam, like a signal, like a stop sign, roundabout, okay, parking areas, these things. So these things are very routine, and they are not any they are not usual, they are not unexpected. So in these situations, providing normal stopping distance or visibility equal to normal stopping distance is sufficient. But there are locations in which the driver may be faced with something unusual, okay, something which may result into a collision or a crash or an accident. Okay, so in those situations, we must provide drivers with more visibility so they have more chances of avoiding the collision. Okay, so these the distance provided in those situations is known as decision side distance. The distance provided in situations where the situation in situations which are more complicated and unexpected for the drivers, and they may include crash avoidance or avoidance of accidents. Okay, so decision side distance are provided where situations are more complex and they require any action from the driver to avoid the accident. And usually, or not usually, like always, since the situation is more complex, so we have discussed earlier that the driver will require more reaction time. So this is the main difference between decision side distance and normal stopping side distance, that the reaction time is higher for the driver. Why the reaction time is higher? Because he is doing something, he's encountering something unexpected, unusual, and he is doing something to avoid the collision. Now, what type of locations may have complex situations of avoidance maneuver or collision avoidance? Some examples are given here. Okay, like interchanges and intersections. Again, just to refresh your memories, interchanges are where the roads are intersecting at different levels and you're providing a ramp to go from one road to the other. So you have a bridge and you have the road at the ground level, and then you take a ramp to go to the bridge. So the connection of the ramp is the interchange. Okay, or the ground level and the tunnel, again you will have a ramp. An intersection is where the two roads are intersecting at the same level. So at these locations, you should provide decision side distance, because at these locations you may find drivers doing something unexpected or unusual. For example, some drivers may realize they are in the wrong lane and they may try to change their lane very close to the intersection. Okay, or a driver is coming at full speed. When he comes close to the intersection, he sees the signal is yellow and he suddenly decides that I cannot go ahead and I should stop. Okay, so this is something unexpected, unusual, and it can happen at interchanges as well when you are going towards the ramp. And if you don't do, if the driver in front of you or the driver in the other lane is doing one of these things and you don't do anything about it, you will get into an accident. So at those locations, we must provide more side distance and we must provide distance side distance. Then locations where you are having changes in cross sections of the road. For example, the number of lanes are changing; they are increasing or decreasing. Now, this is very commonly experienced nowadays because there's a lot of construction activities. A lot of construction activities happening on the main roads of Bahrain. Okay, it was happening on Sheikh Salman Highway. It is going on, but it is almost finished. It was happening on Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman Highway, which is looking now very beautiful with the additional lanes and so on. But when the construction was going on, adding and adding and dropping a lane was very common. So when you are adding and dropping lanes or doing anything with the cross section of the road, drivers may get confused. They may change their lanes unexpectedly and so on and so forth. Or when you are coming towards a toll plaza, what is a toll plaza? Where you pay a tax to go ahead on the road. Where you pay a tax to go ahead on the road, that is a toll plaza. Where is the toll plaza in Bahrain? It is on King Fahd Causeway. On the causeway is a toll plaza. When you are entering the causeway, you have to pay a tax there. That's a toll plaza. So at the toll plaza, normally you will find some speed humps before the toll plaza. There will be a barrier. There will be different lanes for different types of vehicles. So in those locations, in those situations, again, something unexpected may happen. Okay. And then there are locations which are intense demand areas. Intense demand in terms of the distraction to the driver. Within the field of vision of the driver, there are too many things, too many objects. Okay, or he is just getting distracted because of something else. Okay, for example, distraction nowadays is very common because of mobile phones. Everybody is busy in mobile phones. They cannot leave it just for 1 second so that they can drive safely. Okay, and there's a lot of research being done. It has been said that 1 out of 6 accidents in USA is because of the use of mobile phone. And we have done a lot of research as well. If you go to internet, you will find with my name, I think 1 or 2 papers on mobile phone distraction. So this is something in which the drivers are getting involved, and then you cannot do anything about it. But there are locations where the driver is not at fault. Something happening around him which is getting his attention, which is distracting him from the road. For example, too many control devices. Again, if you take the example of these construction activities, before the construction activity, you will see a road barrier, you will see some lane marking because you have to change the lane, you will see some signboards, warning signs, and so on and so forth. All these things coming in front of you in a cluster can distract you. You may get confused. Okay, advertisement boards. Okay, if you go to especially in developing countries, these advertisement boards are, I experienced it in Pakistan. These advertisement boards are very close to the road and there are too many, and they don't bother on which type of highways they should be. So you will find like offers from 2-3 different distributors on the same location. So then you stop thinking about what to do with the vehicle and you start thinking about where should I go now. Okay, which offer is more appealing to me. Nowadays with the corona, now you will see too many boards. These are also advertisement boards, sort of advertisement boards, which are for what? They are advertising the precautions for corona. They are advertising the vaccination for corona. Okay, it is good. These advertisement boards, the awareness boards, now they are good for awareness, but they are not good for driving. Okay, drivers are not supposed to get aware when they are driving. Okay, and you will find them on high speed roads. Okay, anyways, we are in a pandemic. What we can do? Everybody is just thinking in one, towards one side. Anyways, roadway elements. Sometimes roadway elements including lanes, shoulders, medians, barriers, drainage channels, pedestrian bridges, street poles. Okay, these are all roadway elements, and they can also cause distraction if there are too many in front of you. So they call if there are too many distractions in front of you, they call it visual noise. Okay, so noise is something which is distracting, and visual because you are not hearing it, you are looking at it. So visual noise. So in these areas, you should also provide decision side distance. Now decision side distance can be calculated using the same equation which we have for stopping distance, and the change will be in the reaction time. So if I go back to one of the previous lectures, you see. So these were the reaction time for normal stopping, these two. Then the remaining are all for decision side distance. See, they are all for avoidance. So they are all, meaning they are all for decision side distance. Okay. So they are saying use the same equation. If you are calculating, if you are assuming the driver will stop, then use the same equation and just put the higher reaction time. Okay. So for example, if you want to calculate decision side distance for a freeway section with 60 miles per hour speed, and it is in a busy urban interchange. So interchange, I told you, it's a complex situation, and then it is busy. So there's too many information sources in front of the driver as well. So it is fulfilling two conditions of being complex. On this interchange, the gradient is 3% downward. For this case, AASHTO recommended a value of 14.5 seconds reaction time. So we are trying to find out what will be the reaction decision side distance. What should be the decision side distance provided at this location, assuming the worst case that the driver will stop completely. Assuming that in this location, if the driver sees something unexpected, he will stop completely. For something unexpected, the driver will stop completely. Okay, so this is our assumption. So in this case, we'll use the equation of stopping distance with this reaction time. Okay, so this will be 60. Okay, this will remain as it is. SI is 60. SF will be 0 because we are taking the stopping case. Okay, now G will be 3. Okay, this will be G, but should it be positive or negative? Should it be positive or negative?
Negative.
It's not negative. Yeah, negative because it is, reducing the escape resistance or similar to that. So it should be -3 here. Okay, and you are multiplying with 0.01. Okay, so just put 3 here. This is what 0.01 is for converting 3% to 0.03. Okay, so just put 3 here and you will get it. And T will be 14.5 seconds. Okay, this value. So when you put these values, you will get a distance of 1656.3 feet. Okay, which is a very large value. And why it is large? Not because of the speed, it is mainly because of the reaction time. If you go back to the previous question which we did, that in that question we were using a speed of 70 and our distance was 700 something. In this question we are using a lower speed, but our distance is more than double. Why? Because of the reaction time. Okay, so in complex situations your side distances can be very large. Okay. In the previous case, we assumed that the driver will stop. In some cases, the driver may opt for a different action. It may not stop. Okay, so in that case, the decision side distance may not be applicable to that driver. Okay, so if you are assuming that the driver will not stop, then what other actions the driver can do to avoid the accident? What are the other options to the driver to avoid the accident? The other options are these. He may change his lane, he may reduce his speed, he may change his direction, or he may just slightly change his path and continue. These are the other actions which drivers normally do to avoid accidents when they encounter something unexpected or unusual. If they don't want to stop, they will do something like this. In these situations, obviously, the previous equation of stopping distance will not be applicable. The equation of stopping distance will not be applicable. Just give me a minute. Okay, so for these situations, we have a new equation which you can see here in the slide. These are not two equations. This is the same equation in different units. So this one is in feet. Okay, and this one is in meters. Okay, so this is the only difference between the two equations. Okay, and you can see that equation is the same, only the conversion factors are changing. Okay, SI is the initial speed of the driver. TR is the reaction time. So for that, we will go to the table. Okay, so in that table, which I showed you previously, the reaction time for avoidance of stopping, like stopping because of avoidance or doing other actions because of avoidance. So TR values are given as recommended by S2. And then we have TM as well. What is TM? TM is a maneuver time. So after you complete your perception reaction process, the time taken by the vehicle to complete your action after that is TM. Okay, time taken by the vehicle to complete your action, complete your maneuver after the perception reaction process. Okay, so you looked at an object, you gathered information, you decided what to do, and then you initiated your action, let's say changing the lane, and you started moving the steering wheel. That is the end of perception reaction process, and from there onwards TM will start, and TM will be till the time when you are in the other lane. Okay, so that will be TM. So TR plus TM into S. So it's a simple equation, time into speed. It gives you distance. Okay. And since we have two times, reaction time and maneuver time, we are adding both of them. Here there's an assumption that the speed is not changing. You can see SI is the initial speed. There's no other value here. There's no other value. So that means what we are assuming, during the maneuver, the driver doesn't change his speed. Okay. Now this is a safe assumption. This is like a worst case scenario. We are assuming the worst case scenario because normally when you are avoiding the accidents, you will reduce your speed. So during TM, your speed will be lower. So when you are putting a higher value, you are giving him more distance. When you are putting the initial value, you are putting a value which is higher than the real value, and you are giving him more distance. Okay, so assumption that the driver will continue at the initial speed is a safe assumption because normally during TM the speed will be less. So we're just trying to make our lives easier and also providing higher distance to the driver. Now using the two equations, the stopping distance equation and the equation for other maneuvers, they have generated this table. Okay, so these are the values for this decision side distance. Okay, these values are calculated using these speeds and these reaction times. Okay, so these are the reaction times in the first row, and then the second column is the maneuver time. Okay, the first two columns are for for decision side distance calculated for stopping, and using different reaction times. And why the reaction times are different? Because column A is for rural areas and column B is for urban areas. And why the reaction time should be different, we have already discussed previously as well. And that is because of the distractions basically. Urban areas have more objects, limited space, and more vehicles, more traffic, more traffic signs and so on. So we give it more time, more reaction time. Then column C, D, and E are calculated using the other maneuver equation, again using different reaction times, and again reaction time are changing because the area is changing. So column C is for rural area, D is for suburban, and E is for urban area. And you can see C has the least and E has the highest reaction time. Again, the same reason for rural and urban areas. D, which is for suburban area. What is a suburban area? Area which is within the jurisdiction of an urban area, within the boundary of an urban area, but it is close to the boundary. Okay, so they are also differentiating between the urban area, the central urban area, and the peripheral urban area, the area which is near the boundary of the urban area. Okay, so near the boundaries usually population is less. It is more closer to the rural area. Okay, population is less, the roads are wider, and the area is clearer, less distractions and so on. Okay, so this is why suburban areas are taken separately here. Okay, some other types of side distances may also be provided in specific locations. For example, passing side distance may be provided on 2-lane rural highways. Okay, first of all, understand this thing that why passing is critical on two lane highways. Okay, so this is your highway. Okay, and it's a 2-lane highway. So these are the 2 lanes. Now there's a driver in front of you who is going very slow, and you are coming behind him. Okay, you have 2 options. Go on, kill that driver, or go into the other lane, or pass that driver. Okay, so most probably you will take the second option. Okay, now when you are going from the other lane, this other lane doesn't belong to you. It's a 2-lane highway. That means this other lane belongs to the other direction. So when you are in the other lane, a car may come from the other direction. Okay, so that's why 2-lane highways are more critical for passing. Okay, now what will happen if you have more than 2 lanes? So let's say this is a median and you have 2 lanes in your own direction. And again, you have the same case, the driver going in front of you very slow and you are coming behind him. Now you can come to this lane and then you can do something which is very dear and very like very likable to many people, which is go to the other lane, pass that driver and give him an angry glare. Give him an angry look. See, you cannot stop me. Okay, and then you continue. Okay, so this is why this is not critical, because you don't have to come back. There's nobody coming from the other direction in this case. Both lanes belong to your direction. Okay, so that's why 2-lane. Now why rural highways? Because in urban areas, 2-lane highways are mainly provided in the residential areas where the speed is very low and traffic is also very low. Okay, speed and traffic both are very low. So in urban areas, 2-lane highways may not have may not be critical at all for any case. But in rural areas, the speed is normally higher even for 2-lane highways. So traffic accidents can be very severe. So passing is critical there. Then if you want to see the equations for passing side distance, you go back to the highway course. You will see the equations. Here, I have just show you the table. This is the table which you can use for passing side distance. Okay, so you must know the design speed. Okay, and they are assuming the vehicle which is passing will pass at the design speed. So you can see the design speed and the passing vehicle speed is matching. And the vehicle which is passed, the slow moving vehicle is going below the design speed. Okay, so they are assuming, the authors of the book are assuming that we are very good and nice and angelic people, not angelic in sense of the religion, angelic in terms of we are like angels, and we don't go over the design speed, over the speed limit, even when you are passing. Okay, which is good, alhamdulillah. Okay, let them think that. Then we have special cases when you are providing intersections at distance, because in terms of intersection, you have to make sure the driver can see the control device as well, the signal, the stop sign, the roundabout, whatever your control device you're using. And that control device may not be directly in front of the driver. That control device may be on the side of the road. Okay, so intersection side distances may or may not be equal to normal stopping or normal distance at distance. You may have to incorporate some extra considerations. Okay, especially because of turning and other crossings and so on and so forth. So again, when we will reach the topic of intersection control devices, we will discuss the side distance as well. Okay, but these are 2 extra side distances which you need to incorporate at certain locations. Okay, now we haven't started signal design yet, and we will not do it till we complete the other chapters, but we have a part of the signal design which is related to side distance. So since we have covered side distance, let us cover that part as well, and we will recall this one when we come to the signal design topic. Okay, we will go through it again. So the part of the signal which is designed according to side distance is the yellow interval, which they also call as the change interval. Okay, so yellow is when you are yellow happens between green and red, right? Yellow happens between green and red. What is the purpose of giving yellow interval in your opinion? Give me your opinion. In your opinion, why do we give yellow interval? Go ahead. You need to speak up. Messages won't reach me. Yes, anyone? Just a guess. What is the purpose of giving yellow interval? Come on, all of you are drivers.
So
that
the drivers don't stop in an instant and make accidents.
Yes. Without any yellow interval, then it's a warning, right? It's a warning to the driver. The signal is about to turn. Right now, decide whether you want to go or stop. Because it's like a warning. So if the signal goes from green to red, then the signal doesn't have any. The driver doesn't have any warning time. Okay, then he cannot stop in one instant, right? Yeah, very true. Now, which driver should not stop at yellow? The driver who doesn't have enough distance from the stop line to stop. The driver who doesn't have enough distance from the stop line to stop, he shouldn't try to stop. Because if, for example, if somebody is here, okay, so if he tries to stop in yellow, he will stop here. The distance between him and the yellow line is too short. So even if he tries to stop, he will end up here. He will end up stopping here, which is dangerous. So anybody who has distance equal or less than the stopping distance should not stop at yellow. Okay, so yellow should be enough. Yellow time should be enough for a driver who doesn't have stopping distance available to him from the signal to go. Yellow time should be enough for a driver who doesn't have a stopping distance between him and the signal to go. Okay. So that yellow distance should be enough for a driver to go, for that driver to go who doesn't have enough distance between him and the signal to stop. Okay, and anybody who has that much distance should be stopping. Okay, again we are assuming very nice and good drivers. Okay, so how to calculate the yellow interval using the stopping distance? Let us look at an example. So we have approach speed for an intersection as 40 miles per hour. So, intersection has 4 sides, right? So this is for one of the side. So this also means that you can calculate separate yellow intervals for each side of the intersection as well. Normally we don't do it, but there's a possibility. So there's one side of the intersection which has a speed of 40 miles per hour. We want to calculate how much yellow intervals that side or that approach should have. The standard reaction time for signal is 1 second. Why? Because signal is something expected, and for expected situations, the reaction time is less. We discussed it with other reaction times as well. And we will use the other values as per AASHTO recommendation. Even 1 second is recommended by AASHTO. So first of all, I will calculate how much distance this driver needs to stop. Okay, so his speed is 40. Okay, reaction time is 1 second. Okay, since we are talking about stopping, so this will become 0. Gradient not given, I will take it as 0. Okay, so when you calculate the distance, it comes out to be 212.1 feet. So anybody who has more than 212 feet should stop, and anybody who has 212 feet or less should go. Now, how much time a driver requires to cover 212 feet at a speed of 40 miles per hour? How much time the driver will require to cover 212 feet at a speed of 40 miles per hour? That will become my yellow interval. So distance is given, speed is given. I'm trying to calculate the time. Okay, so time is distance upon speed, so d upon s, and since d is in miles per hour, so I need to incorporate the conversion factor as well. So 1.47 is the conversion factor. So the yellow interval should be at least 3.6 seconds. Yellow interval should be at least 3.6 seconds. Okay, so it will give enough time for the driver to pass who doesn't have the stopping distance between him and the signal. Okay, now we will talk briefly about the road characteristics, and we will focus on highway functions and classifications. Any highway is built for 2 reasons, for 2 purposes or 2 functions. One is accessibility and the other one is mobility. What is accessibility? Accessibility is the ease or ability to connecting, ease or ability to connect to a land from a highway, or to connect to an area from a highway. How easily you can access different areas from a highway, that will be its accessibility. So if you can connect to more areas, if you can go to more areas from the same highway, that highway has more accessibility. Mobility is the ability or ease of movement on the highway. How easily you can move on the highway. Okay, and normally it is related to the speed. So if you can go at high speed, that means you have more mobility. Now accessibility and mobility cannot be provided in the same degree together. You cannot have high accessibility and high mobility. One of these things would be less than the other. Either you can have high accessibility or either you can have high mobility. Why? Because accessibility means providing connections. So for example, take this street. Okay, this street has many connections. You can see here, there are many streets which are coming from both sides and connecting with this. Now these connections are happening where? They are happening at intersections. Okay, they are happening at intersections, or even if there are no intersections, there are people who are coming onto this road from all these points, right? So when people are coming in and going out from all these points, either through intersections or otherwise, that means what? Your mobility will be less. You will have less ease in moving through this highway. You have a less ease in moving through this road because you are intercepted, because you are interrupted by all these drivers who are coming and going, right? So when accessibility, so this highway has more accessibility but less mobility. Okay, so the driver's speed should be less as well because they are being interrupted. Okay, but if you consider this highway, this freeway, how many connections it has? Only one. And even this connection is through a ramp, and ramp is normally not considered as an interruption. Okay, ramp is just one lane adding to the highway, that's it. Okay, so it's not considered as too much of an interruption. Okay, so ramp is not considered as a big interruption. So this freeway has high mobility, but accessibility is very low. If I want to get onto this freeway or want to go to any area from this freeway, I only have one connection. Same thing with this arterial as well. See, only one connection. So if I want to go from this arterial to any part of this area, I only have this one connection. I cannot go. Let's say I want to go here, then there's no connection for me to go here directly. I have to go from somewhere else. So this is low accessibility but high mobility. Okay. So according to the functions of the highway, they have mentioned 4 classes here. Okay, freeways, arterials, collectors, local streets. Freeways, very high mobility, very low access. So they call it limited access highways. Their mobility can go up to 100% because I told you on freeways you may have only ramps. So that means there's accessibility is almost zero. Then we have arterials. Arterials have few intersections, very few. Okay, so their accessibility is still very high. Collectors have more intersections. This one was a collector. This is a collector. And the local streets have many intersections and they have connections to garages and parking lots, and they're very short as well. So their mobility is almost zero. Okay. When you are making your trip can be divided into 5 levels. 5 levels of movement. Okay. One is your parking area. Parking area from where you are starting your trip or where you are ending your trip. That is the termination level. Then we have the access level. Access is when you come out of the parking area, the street on which you are in is the access level of your movement. Okay. Then from that street, you go to a collector. Okay. So that local street will get you to a bigger street. Okay. A major street, let's say. Okay. From that street, you will go to the distribution level. Distribution level is the level which is providing you connection to the main highway. The lane or the ramp which is providing you connection to the main highway. That is the distribution level. And then main movement will be happening on the main highway. The highway which is taking you from your area to another area. Now you can see I have skipped transition here. Transition is optional in most of the cases, and it can happen at any part of the trip. For example, you go from your building to the parking area, that's transition. You leave one bus and take the other bus, that's a transition. You walk to the bus stop, that's a transition. Okay, so transition is when you are going from one mode to the other mode. Okay, from one way of traveling to the other way of traveling, that is transition. Okay, so if I want to go from my house to Muharrak, I will walk to my parking area, that will be transition. Then I will take my car from the parking area, that will be termination. I will come out on the street, that will be access. Then I will come on another street, that will be a collector or a collection. From that street, I will go towards, let's say I will take Sheikh Salman Highway, and there is a road which is connecting Sheikh Salman Highway to Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman Highway, that will be distribution. Okay, and when I take Sheikh Salman Highway or Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman Highway and enter Muharrak, that will be my main movement. So these are the movement levels. Okay, so if there are any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'm going for the attendance. And your attendance. Okay. Yes.
In maneuver side distance, do we consider the vehicle type, the type of the vehicle? Like if I have a bus or a big truck in front of me, I can't see anything.
You are talking about maneuver of the truck itself, or you maneuver of you, or your maneuver because of the truck?
Yeah, I will maneuver that truck.
You will maneuver the truck, right?
Yeah.
So basically, truck is an object. Truck is an object, so we don't consider it. For maneuver distance, we calculate it for a car. We calculate for a car. Maneuver distances, all maneuver distances or side distances are calculated for cars, because cars travel at high speed. Trucks and other vehicles are travel at low speed, so we don't consider them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So okay, raise your hand. Okay, when you see or hear your name, raise your hand. Hissa Ahmad, Ali Khalil was here. Qusay Ahmad, Hissa Ahmad and Qusay Ahmad.
Yes.
Both of you are here. Mahmoud Isa, Yusuf Ahmad, Ziad is.
Yes, doctor.
Who is this?
Yes, doctor.
Yusuf?
Yes.
Section.
Sorry?
It's a section 1.
Your name appears in both sections. Anyways, Hawra Nasir, Ali Muhammad, Sadiq Abdul Hussain. Hawra Nasir, Ali Muhammad, Sadiq Abdul Hussain. So,
yes.
Sadiq, okay.
Here, doctor.
Here. Bayan Yusuf, Balkis Ahmad, Hala Munir. Bayan Yusuf, Balkis Ahmad, Hala Munir. Balkis is here.
Yes, doctor.
And Bayan is here, okay. As I said, if you raise your hand, it's enough for me. Umar Walid, Abdul Rahman, Muhammad, Sara Ali. Umar Walid, Abdul Rahman, Muhammad, Sara Ali. Sara is here, Abdul Rahman is here. Umar Muhammad, Muntadir Hussain. Umar Muhammad and Muntadir Hussain. Umar is here, Muntadir is here. Saleh Mahdi, Ahmad Muhammad Mahdi. Saleh Mahdi, Ahmad Muhammad. Okay, both of them are here. Sara Khamis, Zainab Ali. Yeah. Sara Khamis and Zainab Ali. Sara is here.
Yes.
Zainab is here, okay. Okay, people from section 1 now. Anybody from section 1? Who is from section 1? Sozan? Mahmoud, I already marked you. Mahmoud, you are in here. I will mark you here as well, but your name is appearing in both sections. Sozan is from section 1, okay. Anybody else from section 1? Rosen is marked. Say Hissa, okay. Okay, thank you. See you guys tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.